Everyone, welcome to the next episode of Shop Talk. I'm Whitney from ThriftyWhitney.com, and I am just waiting for Nicole, my co-host, to join me from Vintage Haven Shop here on Instagram. And sorry, we're just a few minutes late. We had some last minute additions to add to the outline just to make sure we were covering everything for today. And just as a reminder that if you guys can't make it for the whole live, we will have the replay available. It'll be recorded both here on Instagram and it will. So looks like Nicole is in the room and she's going to be here in just a second. I'm in my office. I'm in the Kansas City area and here she is. Hello.
Hi.
We made it.
I know.
Oh, okay, we just have so much to cover in this episode. We had to have a quick huddle about what we were going.
Like 5 minutes ago.
Yes, we're very, very professional, very well prepared. Okay.
Well, we were like 2 weeks ahead of schedule, I think.
I know it's the holidays, so we're getting it all done last minute. Okay, if this is your first time watching our live shop talk, thank you so much for being here. We are excited to have you here. Thank you for all your comments and excitement. This is episode number 4 that we've done. So we've been doing this now for 4 months, which is a little wild.
Crazy. I love it.
I know. So right up here, if you tap that, you can follow Nicole and I both. We really appreciate that. So that way, if you guys tag us or DM us, we're going to see it and be able to follow along with you guys. And like I said, replay will be available. And today's shop talk is all about selling on Instagram. I feel like we've been on a journey to like get to actually hosting a sale on Instagram. We've been covering how to find the inventory that you want to sell, how to grow on Instagram so you have people who want to buy from you, because that's kind of important. But how many followers did you have when you first sold your first thing on Instagram?
Like 100, I think.
Yeah.
Like 100 and something. I think it all has to do with promotions. So like if you put yourself out there and you just keep advertising your sale, then someone is bound to see it. I mean, you just have to baby steps. Like we all started from 0. I started with my sister and my husband as being my only 2 followers. And then you just progress from there.
Yeah.
So we'll go through everything with you today.
Yes. And we're going to talk about doing a live sale, an Instagram live sale, a square sale, which is actual feed posts on your feed, and then also story sales. And the one thing we also kind of to frame up what we're talking about today is that we want you to think about your customer journey. Now that sounds kind of like Uber marketing boss lady weird. Like it's kind of a phrase, but you really think about the first time that someone encounters your shop might be when you are promoting a sale. It might be when someone shares your sale in their stories or whatnot. So they first get exposed to you and they get curious, and then you're bringing them on this journey of I have these things that will be available for sale, having the sale, and then the post-sale process, which is getting the payment and shipping information. We're going to stop there because we're going to cover shipping in the next episode in January, because that's our second most requested topic, is how to ship stuff. And so that'll be a fun one to cover, but that's kind of what we're going through today. Yeah. So Nicole, do you want to kick us off talking about how you prepare your shop policies? And these are things that are true regardless of whether you're doing story sale, live sale, how do you make sure that your customers understand what you expect from them and what they can expect from you? Oh, I had this really good sentence that I wrote down about the customer journey. You want to create a delightful experience for them so that they will come back to buy from you again and again. Yes, the replay will be available both on Instagram and on YouTube, and we'll get all the links out afterwards. So anyway, just wanted to like frame that up for you guys. Okay, how can we help our customers know what the shop policies are?
Okay, so just think of yourself as being a customer. So you're going to someone's page and you don't know anything about that person. You don't know where they're located. You don't know how they ship their items, what payment methods they accept. Like you're going in blind pretty much. So with having shop policies, that helps guide the potential customer through all of those questions. So people do like a pinned post, which pin just means that it stays in the top like 3 depending on how many pin posts you have in your feed. So it'll be like right now I have my calendar will always be the first photo on my feed just so it's easy reference. But people also do their shop policies as a pinned post, or you can do story highlights. So mine personally is story highlights, and you can save a highlight once you post a story to your profile, but don't ever delete the story. Like after it expires, it'll still show up on the highlight. So with the shop policies, you want to include how to claim an item. So like how does the potential customer buy from you? Usually it's like you just comment sold on, if it's a feed sale, you could comment sold on the post, or you say like sold A, B, or whatever kind of a thing, however you have it set up, but you just need to let people know how they can claim an item from you, what payment methods you accept. So there's plenty of them. I mean, the most popular ones I think are Venmo, PayPal, and Square. But people also do like Cash App and Zelle, and there's a bunch of different payment methods, but you should be upfront with which ones you do accept. In your shipping time frame, so depending on your schedule, you have to be like just realistic. Maybe you work full time and this is what you do after work or on the weekends, so you have to just let people know, okay, it may take like a week for me to ship your items out, but like just be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I've been doing between like 2 and 5 days, but I have that on there. You can always do less, but you're just giving them an overview. And also include where you're located. So if you don't feel comfortable doing like a city, you can just put the state or like the county or something in your state, just to give people an idea. Oh, okay, she's from California, or oh, she's like, I'm in New Jersey, so I have boot in New Jersey on my policies. And then I also, and I think Whitney does too, we have an open box policy, which just means that people can purchase items, and however you deal with your payments on this is up to you. They could purchase items through a period of time and then ship everything in one shot, instead of like if I have a sale this week, I could ship out boxes this week, and then if I'm having another sale next week and the same people purchase from me like every week, then we're giving you the opportunity to save some money in shipping, because it does get a little expensive depending on the size of the box and the weight and the distance. So I would just be clear on your open box policy. Mine is for the calendar month, but some people do after every 2 weeks or after every week if they do multiple sales per week. So just determine like what works for you. And if you want to do 2-part invoicing, which just means that the customer will pay for their items and then you'll keep their box open. So they'll pay after every sale or after every week or however, instead of keeping their order open until you ship it. So you have a little bit of determining to do with that.
Mm-hmm. And I do mine a little bit differently for the open box. I have, just because my setup is so different, because I'm on Shopify and all my invoicing is done through Shopify, which is the host. It's an e-commerce host for websites that sell stuff. And So I always have them pay for shipping at the time they buy the item. And that's because it's happened a lot. It'll be like the first week of the month, someone buys something and they ask for an open box, and then they don't buy anything the rest of the month, which is fine. But then when it's time for me to ship, I can just ship it out. There's no reminding them to pay, like chasing down payment. If they do buy something additional, it's because the more experience you get with shipping stuff, you just know what's going to fit in what box. So I just can usually add on that shipping, do a quick calculation because I have their address, tack that on. Occasionally that doesn't, you know, depending on the box that their item fits in, sometimes there's not even any additional shipping charge. Not every time, you know, there might be a $1 handling fee because maybe it takes a ton of bubble wrap or it bumps up a box size or something. But that, for me, that one, I do like that, because then if anything happens, like if I suddenly have an out of town trip planned for the end of the month, I can just ship it right away. And they get an email from me, and then it's really easy. So, and another little tip that I do, I create, and we both are very heavy Canva users, and it is this free, it is a free website where you can design graphics for anything, printable stuff for social media posts. That's what I use to make the little feed post, you know, shop talk, cover photos, all of that. So I created my policies in a story, and then I think they're saved in my highlights, but they're favorites images on my phone. So when I'm getting ready for a live sale, I always share those the morning before the sale. I'll put them up on my stories. And by saving it in my favorites folder on my phone itself, it's just really easy to find and reshare. So just little tips like that to save you time.
And Canva is great. It's very user friendly too, and if there's a lot of different things that you can use through there.
And it's a free they have a free version that has pretty much everything that you need. So that's good. Okay, now in preparing for a sale, now we kind of have this split up. Some of these things in preparing for a sale are going to be the same no matter whether you're doing a live sale or a feed sale or whatever. And that includes doing, like, first getting all your items together. Someone did ask how many items that you normally have for a sale. I think for a live sale, 30 seems to be the magic number for us. And part of that is because of how much time it takes to show each item. If you have too few items, then you're not having enough opportunities for someone to purchase. Like, you want to have lots of options for lots of people. The more items you have to show, the more likely it is that someone will find something that they want to buy. However, if you get into too many items, if it's a live sale or it's a feed sale, it ends up being so much that you have to keep track of. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And also, I sometimes find that when I do really big, this is a website drop, it's a little bit different, but when I do really big website drops, I think people might get a little overwhelmed by all the options. So it's just finding that sweet spot. How many do you normally do for your feed post sales?
I make sure I do at least 20, depending on, I'm more, I guess, like, the number of squares, like, dictates the amount of items that I do. So I'm a little anal when it comes to, like, my feed sales. I want to do groups of 3 so that when everything's posted, you can see it all in one shot. So
like the top
that's
9.
how I do it. Like the top 9, I do like 9, 12, 15, 18. 18's my max usually. The amount of squares with items per my feed sale.
That's actually a great idea, is when you're even doing the 9, if you have the 9, people being able to see everything right when they open up your feed. That's because
it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing too, and I like to kind of figure out the order of how I want everything shown on there.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say between like 20 and 30 items, I think, seems to be like a good amount. I've actually put polls up in my stories for the past like 3 years, and the 25 seems to be the sweet spot. Like a lot of people say they would rather do a maximum of 25 than 25 plus. And I think it's what Whitney said. You just get a little bit too overloaded by everything, and then maybe you might discourage people from wanting to purchase things because they just can't decide.
Yeah.
It's like a diner menu. It's too big.
Yes. And I think it's also helpful. We didn't write this down. Well, maybe it comes under pricing, which we'll mention in a minute. I also think it's helpful to have a wide range of price points. For example, this is for live sales. When I do my silver plate, those are typically, when we do a lot of this too, they might be $8, $10 spoons. Those are kind of like the bottom of my price range. I make sure that I'm going to have like 10 of those items, because it seems like a lot of customers that will buy the small dollar items, they buy multiples of them, if that makes sense. And then there will be some people, they just want that high dollar item. And then you also have to think about your average revenue per sale. If you're doing 30 items, okay, stick with me because math is hard. We didn't really talk about, I didn't write this down, but it had been in my head. If you're doing a sale and your average sale price is $15 and you have 30 items, the max, it doesn't matter. The most you are going to make from that sale is $450, right?
Yeah, but that's not your profit. That's just your incoming.
That's gross sales.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to make. And so you're going to think about, like, you really want to push that cap up, because the best sales and revenues that I have had is where my average sale price has actually been in the $30 to $50 range, pushing that up. And also, again, having that a nice set price range. It's good for your customers. It's good for you. When it's all really, really low price stuff, you're going to spend the same amount of energy for a lower rep. That's the thing. Like, you're putting a ton of time and energy in it, and you're capping how much you could possibly make. So try to mix up some high end pieces,
especially when it comes to square sales or feed sales, because you're taking the time to now photograph every item, regardless if this item's $10 or $100. You're spending the same amount of time taking pictures, editing the pictures if you choose to edit your photos, posting them, notifying the people, going back and forth. It's the same amount of time. So you just want to make sure that it's like worth it for you, like if it's worth your time. Think about how many hours it might take. So for me, for like a typical square sale, it could be about 8 hours of prep. And that doesn't include sourcing or measuring or cleaning the items. That includes, okay, this is the item that I'm taking pictures from, photographing items, to writing the descriptions, to all of that. All the prep work could be about 8 hours. So you want to think about what kind of profit you're looking to achieve, and then account for the amount of time that you're putting into it too.
Okay, one thing I forgot to say at the very beginning, I meant to, guys. If you have questions, you can definitely ask them. You can put it in the comment box down below there. Or if you see, there's a little, can you point to it, the little speech bubble?
Oh, I don't have it, so I don't
that's
know.
right. It's under, okay, it's opposite for us. There's a speech bubble with a question mark that's in the that's somewhere on the screen. Maybe the bottom right corner. I don't know where it is on you, but do you see a little speech bubble with a question mark in it? Okay. You can also tap that and put questions in, and maybe it's not an option. I think you can't see it because you're not a host, but you're on the live. Anyway, you guys can put your questions in there if you want it to be anonymous, and I can pop them up. Okay, good. I just forgot to mention that that's a place where you guys can drop questions, and we'll watch it, and then towards the end we'll answer questions. Okay. All right, so that puts us into doing listing photos, talking about listing photos. And so you said you do groups of 3, which I think is, like, I agree. There's something about 3 that is very aesthetically pleasing. I think it's more helpful for the customers when you are styling photos, like if you can show how items can be styled or used in your home, which is different than, this is also where we get into the fact that for example, I don't do feed post sales. I do, I only list to my website, and the photos I'm going to do for my website might have some styling photos, but the primary ones are actually pretty stark compared to the Instagram pretty ones. Anyway, but you have it's a little bit more creative freedom, I guess you could say. You have more creative freedom with your feed posts, and yeah, all angles. Make sure you show flaws. How I do this is I literally take my finger and point to it and then take a close-up photo. I still had someone on Etsy that gave me a terrible rating, and they complained that I didn't tell them about the chip, and it literally said, there is a chip on this location. Look at my finger pointing to it in the picture, and my finger was pointing to it in the picture. And it's just like, anyway. But try to do all your due diligence for that. And what do you
just
use?
have to remember that, like, so these people are using whatever you provide them is what they're going off of to determine whether or not they want to purchase that item. So they're not going there and physically, like, going to an antique store and physically touching it and looking around to see if there's any imperfections. That's your responsibility to study the item, really inspect it, see if there are any, like, sometimes they're little flea bite chips, but you really need to take the time to just see and note down, photograph all of the flaws on the piece.
Yep. You want to use all 10 of those photos, you know, because on Instagram you can select up to 10 photos for a carousel for still photos, and you can even include a video in there too if you want. And try to use all, like, back stamp, different angles, everything. And these are photos that you can also use in your promotion and marketing. You can use these photos in story sales. Sometimes if I'm doing a live sale, people ask about items in advance. I don't do full preview photos for every item if I'm doing a live sale, but if I have the photos, then I just shoot them off, especially sometimes for my quilt sales. Again, which is similar, like if someone asks about an item in advance, it's up to you how much information you want to disclose, but I have no problem saying, I don't do pre-claims, I'm not sure about the price, but here are photos. So at least you can see what I'm bringing to that. How do you edit your photos? What do you use?
I use Lightroom.
Same.
It's a free app. You can download on your phone. I think it's Adobe. So if you know Photoshop, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. It's very similar to Adobe Photoshop, but so you can import your pictures. You can use the presets that they have in the app. Some people sell their own presets, like, so there's creator accounts that make presets, like Liz Marie Galvin has presets that you could purchase. You can make your own presets, which just means instead of going in through every single photo, like that day I take, say, 100 pictures. I'm not going to go and manually edit every single photo. The preset is like the settings that you, so like the settings that you do on your initial picture to make it brighter or clearer, however you want to do it. You can either copy those settings and then paste them moving forward onto your other photos. You can also re-edit, like, as you move forward, but you can save it as a preset. So I have presets for different types of lighting conditions, for different, like, I think I have like 40 presets. I pretty much use the one which I call natural light. So I like brighten the picture without, like, you want to make sure that you don't brighten it too much where, like, it's just like glare city.
You're overexposed. Where it's blown out all the detail, all the flaws, everything. Yeah.
But if you want a simpler one, like, just if you haven't, I'm not sure about iPhones, like what kind of settings you guys have for the phones. Like if you just go to photos and you edit. Oh, the photo editor is Lightroom.
Here, I'll type it in.
But like on my phone, I have a Google Pixel, and you can just manually drag like the brightness, contrast if you want to do it that way. I know a few people that use their phone photos. I guess photos, is that what you call it,
Your
to
photos in
like
the
edit the
Program app.
pictures instead of importing them into a different app, which is fine too. Whatever works for you. And maybe sometimes you don't even have to edit the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about like aesthetics, so I personally edit everything.
And I just recommend don't use Instagram to edit the photos. I have a friend who does that, and I don't know, weird stuff happens to the pictures, and it's just not a great editing tool. And I will say, to do on Lightroom, I use the mobile app, and so I do have to pay um, to paste in bulk. If the free version, you can copy one photo presets, you can paste it to one photo, but to paste it to like a whole set, you have to pay for that. So for me, it's like $50 a year. And because I use Lightroom, I mean, I edit probably I'm not kidding, thousands of photos every month. For me, it saves so much time. That's like nothing. So also just a word of caution, be Adobe Photo. I think we're talking about basically it's very similar programs.
Photoshop, I think, might be a little bit trickier.
Might be more advanced. I
Yeah.
don't need advanced. I just like a word of caution when it comes to filters. There are times to use heavy filters to create special feelings for your photos, for branding, etc. I totally get that. But I have had other customers tell me that they have bought, I don't even know who they bought from, but they had said, oh yeah, I bought this piece from someone else and the photos looked great, but there was such a heavy filter, like they were so desaturated, the colors were so muted. I had no idea that this was so stained. I wouldn't have bought it if I had known that this is actually how it looked, because it was so heavily edited. You do not want that to happen, because what that customer then thinks is that, man, she takes really good photos, but I can't trust them because they're not showing me what it actually is. The colors might be off. The color is so hard to capture certain colors. So you just want to be very, very careful with how you're editing your photos. Lighter, like less is better when it comes to editing.
Right.
Yeah, less is
Especially
better.
when it comes to color, like if that's a cobalt blue, you want it to show as cobalt blue. You don't want
Yes.
to like mute it.
Oh, I
Like,
have.
don't reduce the saturation just because it looks pretty. Like, they want the blue. Like, I wouldn't
Oh
do
my gosh.
that.
Blue green is the hardest to capture. What I have found, one thing that was really helpful is I had this teal green transferware piece, and someone asked basically where was that on this color spectrum. And so I had a flow blue that was like bright, true cobalt blue, and I put those two pieces together. And I said, okay, now you can see what the difference is. So that can be helpful if it is a color that's hard to capture. Find something that kind of shows that true color. Put them
Mm-hmm.
together so that people, then the eye, once we set that piece up against that flow blue bowl, it was immediately like, oh goodness, oh I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry,
sorry.
yeah, that stinks. That stinks. So someone just said in the comments that basically this happened to them, that they bought something and it wasn't the condition that they'd expected based on the photos. So anyway, so yes, using the color, you could even like go to, honestly, this might not look super cool, but you could go get paint chips, like a paint chip strip from Lowe's that has like true colors and
I
then
was
just,
thinking that, or you can go like well, I don't know if anybody knows, like Pantone, I would say, like if you
yeah,
go like
yeah.
you find like a Google image of the picture. So like my camera, for whatever reason, always autocorrects teal. So like when I
Um,
take a picture of teal, it like makes it bluer. And I'm like, no, but it's green. It's like that Pyrex slid green, like that turquoisey color. It never depicts it properly. So you can always find like a image on the internet of the color and
mhm,
just include that in there and say like,
mhm,
this is what the color is.
yeah. Oh, this is
But
great. We kind of had decided we were not gonna do a separate episode on like photography, but there you go, you guys. We got like a little mini sesh about taking pictures, so that's great. Okay, we got a lot of questions on how to price. So getting your listings ready, whether it's for a live sale or feed, you have to figure out what you're going to price things at. So, you know, I really recommend, if you guys did not watch our inventory episode, watch that, because you make your money in the buy, okay? Because how we talked about, there's a cap on how much you can charge, or how much you're going to make based on how much you can charge for your items. Like a brass unicorn is only going to be worth so much. It doesn't matter if you paid $75 for it. Like, you know, there's only so much that you're going to make on that. So you really want to make sure that when you are buying your items, you are paying as low as you can ethically can. So some of the things that when you're researching your items, I think you're the one that turned me on to some great resource books.
That could be like a whole other.
What?
There's so many resources.
I know. Okay, here, I'm going to grab mine. Will you talk about what you use to look up price comps? I have them right in the other room.
Okay. So comps, I think we both actually think the best like free way to look for comps is if you go on eBay, and then you go into like the filters on the left side, scroll down, and you could filter your search. There's an option to search for sold listings. I believe it's the last 3 months that show up, and then you type in the item that you're looking for. So if I'm looking for like ironstone pitcher, and then I look up a check mark off the sold box, and then I hit enter, then all of the ironstone pitchers that had been sold on eBay pop up with their sold prices. So that's a really good resource to look up. WorthPoint, it's a subscription-based website, so they also have the sold listings on there. They give information on different potters marks and things like that too. I personally don't have a WorthPoint subscription, but I know Whitney does, so that's a really good resource. You could look at other Instagram sellers or Etsy sellers. So sometimes, so personally, when someone buys something from me, once the item is sold on my Square sales, I remove the price. Other sellers don't do that. So if you know, like, just as an example, because I was selling some Putz houses this week, I wanted to just look up like how much were they going for. So I know Robin at Hollingsworth was selling them recently. So I just scrolled for her picture and I looked at a couple of hers to see the prices that she had on there. I know a couple other people that sell those items too. So you could like screenshot their prices and save for later, or just take note. Or it's hard because like if it's something that you're not used to, or like if you're just starting out, you have to get familiar with the pricing, and it's not going to happen overnight. So you're going to ease into it. Like when I sold English marmalade jars for like $10 each 3 years ago, and they're going for like $28.
Oh, I was going to ask that question.
Why
Why
do I
the
remove
sold
it?
price?
I think because people, honestly, nobody reads. And even though it says sold on there, I've had people comment, oh, I'd like to buy this. So if the price is still on there, to me, just like so that people aren't as confused, I remove the price. So it's like you're no longer able to purchase that item.
I do not remove the price. On my website, I remove items once they've sold and they've been up there for a little bit, just so my site's not cluttered. But this is because I don't do feed posts. I have to. This is like slightly adjacent to it, but Etsy's kind of similar, where some people, they don't want anyone to be able to see what they've charged for items. But yeah, you can go on my Etsy shop, and if you go not on your phone, but on the website on the browser, that you can like tap where it says how many sales I've had. I cross post to Etsy as well as on my website. It's the same stuff. And then you can see all my sold items. Some people have told me that they don't want basically other sellers see what they're selling stuff for. If they decide to increase their prices, they don't want customers to be able to go back and see that they used to charge less for it. I don't find those very compelling reasons. I find I'm kind of like, well, I like seeing what other people charge for stuff, so I'm going to leave it up there. Also,
Mhm.
another thing though, this is actually something that I did find more compelling. I have a friend who sells quilts on Instagram only, and she was started removing her prices. And she said it was, and I asked her, and she said it's because the customers, because of the very public way on Instagram, you have to claim things unless you're getting claims via DMs. Some of the customers didn't want to be seen as spendy. They didn't want people knowing that they were buying a $700 quilt. They
Mhm.
just were more private about their buying habits. And there are some customers that feel the same. They're just more private. And I completely respect that. That is totally fine. And actually, I had a customer kind of tell me the same thing. And I was like, that again, um, you want to respect the customer and whatever they need. There's also the chance that if a dealer buys from you, they may want you to completely delete that item from your profile so that it will look fresh to market. As you get into the antique dealing world, you realize there's a whole tier and there's a whole ladder. And I am I love selling to other dealers. Like if someone can buy from me and flip it for twice that much, that's awesome. They have access to a different set of clientele. They're selling to interior designers who are designing houses for millionaires. They can charge more. That is awesome. And so so sometimes they may say, can you just completely delete this from the internet record so that it looks fresh to market and I can bring it in again? Sure, that's fine. Um, just another kind of random thing that about sold prices and stuff. Showing shipping cost along with list price. Ooh, okay. That
Well, you
is.
can't really because it depends on how far the item is traveling. So some people, oh, sorry. So the question was, could you discuss showing shipping costs along with the list price for the item? It varies.
Mhm.
I know some shops that include shipping in their price, and I feel like that is maybe a little bit more manageable if you're like in the Midwest. So like you have
Mhm.
equal distances to ship. And then this one particular person says like these states are going to be an additional $5. So like Alaska, Hawaii, like if they are like further, being on a coast, I can't include shipping in my prices just because if I'm shipping to someone in New Jersey, the box could be $7. If I'm shipping to somebody in California, it could be like $16. So
Mhm.
then you're either taking a hit if you decide to do like the average cost, or you're overcharging someone who so then I would say okay, $16 to ship to this person that lives like an hour away from me and it would only be 7. So I personally don't include the shipping cost. It's very hard
Mhm.
unless you say you just have like a flat rate like and some people will do like a tier. So like I don't know, $1 to $25 shipping is $4.99 or like whatever. You could do it that way too, but I think it's just better to calculate what the
I
actual shipping
highly
is.
recommend. I hi- I highly recommend. I'm just telling you from a customer perspective. I go on. And I can't even think of. Oh my God! If you're selling like things that all weigh the same thing and generally fit in the same box, you may be able to do a flat rate. And if that works for you, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I would just recommend. I've been on some feeds where it's like $1 to $30 costs this much, unless you live in these 5 states, and then it's this much more. But even if you live in these states, it's like $5 less. And then it's like gets into this
Too
complicated
much.
algebra. Don't do that to your customers. A, they're not going to read it. B, they're confused. And C, they've already checked out. They're just like no. So it's really, you're not really doing the customers any favor by creating this very, very complicated way of calculating shipping ahead of time. Like you just tell them, hey, send me your zip code and I'll give you a shipping quote. So, okay, researching. I was just going to show you guys these books. This is a good example. These might have values in them, but they're not necessarily. I keep them for the history. So I think this is one that you sent me. So this is American Pottery Marks. You can find these in a lot of estate sales or thrift stores. They're great old school references, and sometimes this information is not on the internet. So you can find back stamps, and you can see when stuff was made. It gives you information about the history of the makers. I have another one on yellowware that I got. I'm excited. I have some yellowware pieces that I'm picking up tomorrow. I honestly forgot I had this book. I'm like, man, I wish I'd had this. I would have bid on some more things. Just really be able to, especially for history of things that are maybe a bit more rare. I have one on Flow Blue. It gives, again, dates, pattern makers. Just having these reference books can be really, really helpful in helping you understand what you're actually selling.
And you can definitely buy those. I would recommend buying those used, because some of those books they're very pricey. So there's a few websites that you can go on. There's, what did I use? Discovery Books, something like that. Abe Books, like Abe Lincoln. And there's a couple other ones, but if they'll tell you the conditions. They won't have pictures of every single book. They'll just say like condition fair or whatever. But like all the information's there. So I don't really mind the condition as long as it's not missing any pages. But I could spend maybe $30 total on 6 books to have them shipped to me instead of spending $30 for every book.
I just put in a reference. Bookfinder.com actually is like the Google search of used book website. So they will search. You just have to go there and put in the title or the ISBN number or whatever, and it will literally search all of those sites: Thrift Books, Discover Books, Abe Books, Amazon. It'll look at Amazon UK. I've ordered stuff from Blackwell Books in the UK, and it's like half the price of what it is in the States because they have a warehouse here. So if it's like a UK published book, it's anyway. So that's like, yes, a great, it'll save you some time. Okay. And then, yes, we'll talk a bit more about open boxes when we get to like the shipping post process. So I think we kind of hopefully gave you guys some ideas of how to cover pricing with things. A note on the measuring of items. When I do preps for listing things, I measure the dimensions, and I also, type those in, please. Yes, guys, I'll also go through afterwards and create show notes where we can have all the references in one place for you guys. I haven't done a great job of doing that, but we're very reference heavy this episode, so we'll make sure and get all those together, and it'll probably be on the YouTube page. Anyway, I also weigh the item, because then when I go to calculate shipping, it makes it way faster, because you might not even need to put it in a box. You just know, oh, that's going to fit in my 12-inch box. It's going to weigh this much. Having that ahead of time is really helpful. So, okay, marketing. Let's talk. You have to tell people that you're selling stuff, and tell them and tell them and tell them and tell them, and then you tell them one more time, and then maybe you're halfway through your marketing. But right?
Yeah, because you have to just remember that. So say you have 2,000 followers, but maybe only 6 to 10% of your followers actually see your stories or your posts. Not all 2,000 of your followers are going to see everything that you post or share.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that in mind. And it might look like you're, I don't know what to say, not like nagging, but it might look like it's a little bit too much, like if you keep promoting, but just do it, because maybe they missed it that day. Maybe people don't go on Instagram as much as I do. Or like when you're a seller, you're on Instagram for like hours a day. And when you're a buyer, you really aren't. Like you might just be scrolling every now and then. You don't scroll on Tuesday, so you miss the promotion, but maybe on Thursday you'll see it. So you just want to keep promoting your sales.
Yeah.
Make sure you include some, if you have an ad, that's great. But also like just preview a couple items maybe. You don't have to do the whole drop like as a preview. You can do a couple pictures of items that you think will draw the people in. So maybe like some hot items. We were also saying that it's good to put like in your bio of your profile, you can post your next sale date. just in case people miss anything, they can just check, okay, let me see when Whitney's next sale is. Oh, there it is. And we also both have a calendar post on our profiles that have all of our sales that are scheduled for the month outlined right there too. So make it easy for people, especially if they're new. I mean, it might be a new follower and they're like, okay, let me see what this page is all about. Help guide people through it.
And I just had an idea. I might have to pursue this. On the calendar, a lot of people have asked for this. If you guys are interested, I can create like a free Canva template for sales calendars and share it. You might have to like sign up for my email list or something, but that's, if you like that idea, just give me like a heart or something down there. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. And then I would encourage you to post additional sneak peeks, whether on squares or story format, however you do it, leading up to the sale. So don't just start promoting your sale if you know that it's definitely going to happen at a certain day. I would start promoting it at least like about a week in advance. Yeah. You could do like a week or less. When people do it like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, like I feel like it's harder to keep track that way because there's just so many like that go by. But I would recommend doing it like a week in advance. And then leading up to the sale, just keep reminding people it's coming, or even the sale morning, post to your stories or post a picture. Today's sale day. Join me at 8 p.m. or whatever you want to do. You can add the remind. So I've noticed that not everybody has access to reminders on posts. I believe it might just be a business or creator option. But when you go to create a new post, you pick all your pictures, everything like that. You can write your description down. You can add your location. There's a few other things you could tag people. But then if you scroll down a little bit more, it says add reminder. And that's where you could do the day and the time of your sale so that people, when they click on your post, they're able to be reminded of your sale. And Instagram will give them a notification. I forget how far in advance, but it'll say like Vintage Haven Shops, blah, blah, blah sale, whatever I name it. It's starting soon. So you could do it that way. You can make a calendar, or no, what is it? A countdown, I think they call it, on stories. So if you go to the stickers tab on a story share, there is a countdown, and then you could name your countdown, you pick the day and the time, and that's where like it scrolls through the time. You can share that. Once you create a countdown, it will say saved on your account so that you can just click it for future use. So then people in your stories can save your sale. You can get in front of your camera on stories and promote a sale. Maybe just talk about it. Oh, you do. Thank you. Someone just commented that they appreciate the reminders. I mean, some people even put it in their own, like, on their own calendar, in their cell phone calendar too. Like if there's something I'm really looking forward to, I'll put it in my cell phone calendar, and then I'll like put a reminder for myself on there.
Here's just the thing to remember about the reminders. Instagram is only going to notify them about the sale if they have notifications turned on. Then they'll get a notification on their lock screen on their phone. But if they have notifications turned off, like I do, I don't get any notifications from Instagram. I don't see anything. But when I open the app, it'll tell me under my notifications. So it's not like fail proof, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Right.
And maybe that's something too we need to educate customers about, like, hey, Instagram is only going to notify you if you actually have them turned on. Which is why it's good.
Yeah, in your phone settings.
In your phone settings, yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. And then so some shops do this, and I do too. I haven't recently, but you can ask your audience, hey, would you like to be notified of upcoming sales? any promotions that are going on, like news, like business news, things like that, if you want to be updated. And then you can create like a reminder or a tag list. So I have like a master list of the people who have requested to be tagged in reminder posts ahead of time. So I have a master list, but with my open boxes, I also tag the open box customers on my upcoming sales too, just so that they don't have to keep track of my sales. I like remind them like, hey, so I do like a 15-minute post before any sale starts, whether it's a flat lay, whether it's a market sale, square sale, or live sale, and then I tag those people who have requested to be tagged and my open box customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep that list in like the notes app on my phone, so it makes it nice and easy to reference.
And the other thing too that I need to utilize this, I know you do, Nicole, is that Instagram, and I don't think it's not available for everyone, but see if you can set up a broadcast channel. Okay. I get a lot of DMs from people who are sharing their sales with me. So they have a sale scheduled, they DM me their sale. I have not asked to be on their notification list. So it's not that I don't want to see their stuff. It's not, but honestly, I almost never watch anyone's live sales just because I don't have time to. I might sometimes have it on if I'm cooking or stuff, but just right now I have small children. It's just kind of, I just, have a lot of demands on my attention. The best way, because the last thing you want to do is for customers to feel overwhelmed with notifications that they have not opted into, right? Because in marketing, you want to market to people who raised their hand and said, yes, I want to know about your sales. So doing the DM list is one, like the tag list is one way to do that. But if you have access to a broadcast channel, start that. Invite people, tell people about it, send people a DM saying, hey, will you join my broadcast channel? Because that is going to save you hours and hours and hours of time. Because instead of having to go in and DM, manually select all these people to send DMs to notifying them about sales, you go into your broadcast channel, you make one DM message, and it goes out to a bunch of people who have opted into that. It's like having an email list for Instagram, and you're targeting the people who want to be sold to. They want to buy from you. They want to know what's going on with your shop and when your next sale is. And so you're going to have much happier customers who are getting the information that they want from you, and then you're not wasting time doing the same thing over and over and over again individually.
And you're not bugging people either. Like if they don't want to be notified. So I think of it as like when you receive an email from a company that you never signed up for emails, and then you hit the unsubscribe button, you don't want people to unsubscribe from you. So I wouldn't necessarily send out your sale to every single person that you know, because depending on how they view that, they might be like, oh, great, perfect, that's what I wanted to know. But other people might just be like, why is this person sending me this thing? Like, unsubscribe. So they might unfollow you. So you want to give the information out to the people who are actually asking for it.
Yeah.
I would recommend, at least.
And I will put a link in the show notes to like a Instagram tutorial for how to set up a broadcast channel. And I will try to do it too myself. Okay. All right, guys.
I think that's it for promoting sales, right?
It's what?
So
Sorry?
That's it for like promoting a sale.
Yes.
Then we're going to dive into setting up, if you decide to do a live sale, how you set up before a live sale starts.
This is going to be way longer than an hour. We should have just warned
It's going to
you
be way
guys.
longer.
We're only like a third of the way through, but I think that's fine. It'll be fine, right? Are you good?
The lighting is like horrible right now. Sorry. So
okay.
Use this as a reference. This is not good lighting for selling.
This is not the goal.
I would check for good lighting if you don't have natural lighting. So like being on the East Coast and doing nighttime or evening live sales, you need to make sure you have artificial light because obviously the sunlight is not working out, right? For me right now. And I have poor lighting overhead. So I would recommend if you have a ring light or if you have like a lamp or something like that, just to provide a little bit extra lighting without overwhelming. Sometimes the ring lights are a little intense and they like glare really bad. So I would just be careful with how your lighting is set up. And an easy way to test it is just like you can go on your camera or even on Instagram and pretend you're going to share a story. Just flip the camera around and look at yourself and be like, I don't know if I like this lighting. And then you could bring in a few other props. You see how it's framed out in the screen. You might need to like adjust somehow just to like get yourself propped up, ready to go. A phone stand is probably your best bet or like a mini tripod to hold your phone. When you prop your phone up like on books or like against like a picture or something, you want to make sure you have like the speakers on the bottom. So you want to make sure that that's elevated. It's not on a surface because it could appear muffled. So just you want to make sure that you have that set up. Make sure, I would recommend having your phone fully charged. Like right now my phone's on a charger, but sometimes that could like alter the way the video comes across. So especially for like a live sale, I mean, when they go 2 hours plus, sometimes it's hard to keep your phone fully charged, but I would recommend charging your phone before you go live. And then prepare your rounds. So some people don't write everything out and they're fine. They can just go on the fly. That's not me. I'm very type A. Everything needs to be meticulously written down. So I have a notebook. I don't think it's anywhere near me. I have a notebook and I write down like live sale with Whitney, the date. I write who's hosting so I know, and I write how many rounds we're doing. So then I'll write down on my notepad, round 1A, $14, the item name, the item size, and like a little bit about it. If there's any flaws, things like that. So I would definitely recommend doing, or like if you're numbering your items, like 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 30 or however many items you have. It just keeps things easier for you. Like you want to use it as like an outline for how you're going to run the sale. And I would recommend writing the price first, just so that you remember to say the price first. A lot of customers request that. Some people are on a budget. So if I'm showing an ironstone picture and I'm like talking all about it and they really love it, but someone sneaks in a claim before them because they can't afford to pay $65 for the picture. Excuse me. So it's just really nice to give everybody like a fair chance to claim if you tell them the price first. Or if you don't want to write things down, you can put masking tape or post-it notes or like stickers on your items with the item number and the price on there, whichever works for you.
That's what I do. Masking tape. Again, the more you do it, the more you just get to know, like, this is going to sell at $24. Like, this is a $24 item. Some things, you know, the more you do this, the more stuff you sell, then you just know the market price and you don't have to spend so much time prepping. And so I go through, when I'm prepping for my sale, most of the time I will pull a bunch of stuff out. I put it on my little table right here. I put it on my table. I write the price down on the piece of masking tape. I print off my blank tracking sheets, and then I'm done. And then I do try to group items like, okay, my brass is together, my ironstone's together. And so, yes, to have them, if you do number them, have them in order. I'm much more of a responsive seller. So if I'm selling with Nicole and did you know this? I kind of follow your lead sometimes. Like, oh, we're doing silver plate now? Awesome. Let's do the silver plate. You
I
just
do
sold
that
all your
sometimes
silver
too.
plate
I'm like, I'm
films.
going to ride that train right now and we're going to do this.
I rely on you way more than you realize. You know? And then
I
I
don't know.
also like I'm more flexible in my pricing because you also like Nicole and I have conversations ahead of time like, hey, what do you price these at? That doesn't mean that we have to have identical prices. But if we're selling the exact same item and I'm charging 20 and she's selling it for 30, that's a big gap. You don't want to under or overprice each other on sellers. You do want to be kind of in the ballpark. You know, maybe mine has some flaws that hers doesn't. Maybe it's newer. There are some differences there, but you do, there's nothing wrong with I would actually encourage open communication if you're doing a sale with someone else to be like, you know, ballpark estimate, what do you normally price these at?
Right.
Because you're not doing her, I'm not doing her any favors if I'm selling my stuff super cheap. Like it's, you know, it doesn't feel
Because you might need, especially if it's someone you're not very familiar with, that you're selling with, and then you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. So if like I'm selling something for, like she said, $10 more than Whitney, I might feel uncomfortable. I'm like, ooh, did I price that too high? So like it's nice if you see in the previews, if I see that Whitney posted, I don't know, an aqua bottle, and I'm like, oh, I have a very similar one to you. How much are you pricing yours at? Just so I have an idea.
Yeah.
Just like friendly back and forth is really good before if you choose to do a live sale with another seller.
Yeah.
And I guess while we're on that, I would recommend having 2. 3 is good too.
Oh,
I mean, I'm in live
sellers.
sales with 3 sellers. I have a few regular sales with 3. 4, it's hard to keep the attention, I think, on people. If you want to do it, go right ahead. But personally, I don't like 4-person live sales. Like, I don't like watching them, and I don't like being a seller for them.
I have never exited a live so fast in my life, and I don't even remember who it was, but someone popped up and I tapped on the live sale, and there were 4 people, and each of them were holding stuff up. You know, the image is this big, everyone's blurry, and they're all like waving their stuff around, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in a souk in I lived overseas, but I feel like I'm back in the Cambodian market, like, and everyone's like, buy my stuff. I was like, I like was like, get out of there. No, X. I cannot keep her. It's just really overstimulating. It's just a lot. So just some things for you to think about. If you want to try it with some people and maybe really successful for you.
It might be good exposure too.
Yes,
so I'm not saying don't do it, but the general consensus of people that I've spoken to that are sellers and customers, they don't typically gravitate towards the 4-person live sales.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to show you this tracking sheet is from the Junk Parlor. I'm in her coaching group, but this is just to show you guys my sheet that sometimes I do prep. This has my item number, item description, the price, the buyer's name. I'll put their handle here, and I put my weights, my dimensions here. And this is, so as we're going through the sale, I kind of have these printed out and ready. And you can even just do this on a notebook, but that's kind of what I use to keep track of what is sold.
That's good.
Where are we at? Oh, and then the table, yes, besides having your stuff stocked up here, make space. Like I have a little table that I use to put all my stuff on, and then I try to have 2 spots ready, one for items that are unsold and one for items that got claimed during the live. Because when we do the recap at the end, which we'll talk about shortly, I'm always afraid of selling the same item twice, like forgetting it got claimed, like getting mixed up. You don't want to do that. So yeah, separating them out.
So I have like a table over here that adjacent to my like desk, that I have the items, and then once someone claims an item, I put it back here. So it separates it for recap purposes and just to kind of get it out of the way, because you can only reach so far, especially when you're sitting. Like I know some people that do live sales, I think that would be a lot easier to, but I'm lazy. I like sitting. Anyway, sorry. So,
okay. I
Since
get
we're
so
on live sale, do you want to just jump to running a live sale?
yeah, let's go ahead and finish that through. I just realized we're kind of jumping around a little bit. So we'll talk about running a live sale, and then we'll go back to talking about your Square sales. Squares and story sales kind of go together because they're very similar. How do you recommend creating? You just make it up. You can do like round one, and this is item A, B, and C. You can number them all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just whatever system that you can keep track of, if that makes sense, and keep straight for your customers. All right, so live sale. Okay, if you guys notice, whenever I have a live that I am running, whether it's a sale or these shop talks, as soon as I hit go live, I start talking. And that is because so many people will watch the replay. There is no faster way to lose someone watching the replay than to push play and then to have 30 seconds of someone staring at, I don't know, is anyone on?
That or like when people fix, I don't know, go and look in the mirror first before you join a sale. Don't like fix, oh, my glasses are dirty, or like, do I have something in my teeth? Nobody wants to see that.
When
Especially if you're saving it. You don't want that saved
No.
on the internet forever. No,
Yes.
thank you. So I would just make sure, like, even before, like, I don't know, fluff your hair, do what you need to do, if you want to put lipstick on, just like get yourself situated, and once you push go, you're live. So like you don't want to necessarily like futz around too much for your customers.
It usually takes, I mean, that could be part of your that if that's a signature thing for you, like camera's on, I put my lipstick on, and then we go right in. If it's you can make it a thing. But my thing is, as soon as the camera goes on, I am talking, assuming that someone is watching the replay, because I know it's going to take 5 to 10 seconds for anyone to come on. So immediately I introduce myself. I say, hey, this is Whitney, thriftywhitney.com. What are we here for? Who am I waiting on? And I just go ahead and launch, because that way, especially when people come into the live, they want to feel like they're missing something a little bit. So then they're like, oh, I gotta watch this. I gotta get on there. Okay. Because if they get on and they see you staring at the screen waiting for someone, then immediately it's just a bit of a turnoff. So so I get on. So when we start our live sale, I already said that, we always go into shop policies, basically all the things that we've talked about. How you invoice, where you ship from, what your turnaround time is. Go ahead and do a quick go through that. Ask people to follow you. I always say that. I try to do it a couple times throughout the live. If you're not doing that right now, will you tap up here, and you follow Nicole and I, because that makes it easier for us to see your DMs. That way we can DM you, we can see things, communicate, and it helps our accounts grow. I usually say something like that. It helps our little accounts grow, and we really encourage it. Or are encouraged by it. We really appreciate it. And then talk about, the first person who says, okay, this is a sticking point of live sales, right? We have comments coming through. Unfortunately, the comments sometimes come through in a different order, what I see versus what the customer sees versus what Nicole sees. And our policy is pretty much whatever comment that I, as the seller, see first is the comment that I go through, and making that very clear. We always encourage backups, and that just means if you have more than one person claiming it, I'll write down the first person's name, and then I say, okay, you're the backup in case this person changes their mind or doesn't follow through with payment, etc. You have someone else. And occasionally I'll be like, hey, I have more of this item. It's just not in the sale today, but I'll message you. That's a great way to, again, generate more sales if you have the same item. And then you just get into it. And you guys have to really find your flow, but people's attention, it is a bit of a show. And so you really want to keep the pace going. You want to keep it brisk, but you don't want to rush it. So it might take a while to kind of figure that out. You want to make sure that you allow plenty of time to show flaws. Do people not often? I would probably say I have a 5% non-payment rate. That's just off the top of my head. it's pretty low, but occasionally they do. I, like Nicole said earlier, state the price. This is the item number. This is the price. Go through it. Give them the dimensions. You know, rotate it all the way through. I do try not to rush it too much with the item, but if there's no interest, you set it down and you move on. So you really want it. Again, you can have a large number of items in a live sale, but if you take forever, if you're taking 5 minutes on each item, you're not gonna. People are gonna lose interest and are gonna jump out.
Right.
So if you keep a good pace, you can get through a lot of items, and the more items you show, the more you're gonna sell. And so sometimes we do have customers who are sad that they what to go over in the, yes, yep, we did that. I don't know how much of there is a lag is for Alicia, but we sometimes we have customers and they're sad because it looks like their comment is first and it's not. And I always try to display empathy. You know, don't come across, well, that's just the rules and that's just how it is. I've heard stories, again, no one specific, but I've heard some stories of sellers who are maybe a little bit cocky and maybe a little bit too much of an ego, and the customers, again, I don't know who these sellers are because the customers didn't tell me, but you know, they just had a really negative experience because how they were treated in a live, and you don't want that. You really don't. I had one customer who, this was poor planning on my part, but I had a live sale where we spontaneously showed a whole bunch of ironstone pictures, and I had a customer who kept saying, can you show me another one? And then as soon as I would show it, someone else would claim it, and I went through like 3 of them. And the poor customer was so upset and frustrated. At the end, she's like, I was the one asking for it, but the other people claimed it before me. And I was like, first off, I felt really bad for her because the policy is you can ask questions. And that's another thing to sort out. Like, tell your customers up front, like, you can ask questions, but if someone says sold, it's sold to that person first. Or other people have done it this way. Asking questions, we're going to pause claims, we're going to answer the question, and then that person gets to decide whether they want it or not. Anyone else as a backup. So the biggest thing is it has to be very clear and consistent. So with this one customer, thankfully I had another ironstone picture in stock on my website. I was able to offer it to her at a lower price. Like, just be like, I'm so sorry, that is so frustrating. I'm really apologize, like that was not run well, we should have had better communication, blah blah blah. And then she was really, really happy because, and she told me later, she's like, I'm mad at Instagram, not you necessarily, because of how the system is set up. It was just a very frustrating experience. So how can you take that experience and turn it around for her? I got her the item that she wanted, and then hopefully retained her as a customer. So just some like, we could have a whole thing about customer service situations. So what else are we?
There was a question that came through. Do you mention flaws before saying the price? I will probably say, like, if it's a significant flaw, I'll be like, okay, the next item is an ironstone bowl. There is one chip. I'm going to tell you the price. It's $56, but here's the chip. And then I'll show the rest of it. So, like, you could mention that there's a flaw before the claims come through, just so that people are aware. I wouldn't hide the flaw till the end. Definitely be upfront with it.
Yes, yes.
And then, so I think then you just keep track of the people. Like, you could write it down in your notebook. Some people put stickers on the item. They write down the person's handle on there. But just keep track if sale goes on. And it's pretty easy peasy. I mean, the hardest part for me was you're going on camera and it's live. Like, if you screw up, people see you and then it's going to get saved. So, like, you just kind of have to, like, and then, like, once play, like, you're just there. I mean, you screw up, you're human. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily be, like, too discouraged from live sales. I'm not, oh my goodness. I'm not very, like, I'm not saying like I'm an introvert, but I'm not like that person to like run up to you to like start a conversation either. So like I think once you're comfortable like being in front of the camera, maybe go on
Mm-hmm.
stories every once in a while and talk
Mm-hmm.
to your audience on stories just to get comfortable with the back and forth type thing before you do a live sale. But
Mm-hmm.
you could be a shy person and still do it and still be successful. So
Mm-hmm.
one shy person to another. I'm letting you know you can do it.
Oh. Okay, a couple things. Auction style. I can't imagine doing the auction, how auctions would work on Instagram because of the lag. I personally don't love auctions. I just partially because I'm lazy and there's more stuff to manage. So unfortunately, we can't really speak to that too much. Um,
So I know I used to be a vendor for Vintage Keepers. It's a website. It's very similar to Etsy, but it's all vintage items.
mhm,
And Deb runs live sales that are auction style. So when the um, she hosts the sale, and then she has the person that's selling as like the secondary screen.
mhm,
So she'll monitor the sale, or you could also add a moderator to your sales so you can handle it that way. It is a little difficult with the lag though, like if there's like a 10-second warning or something like that, and then there's a 30-second lag. So I think you would just
mhm.
have to see what works.
Yeah.
But you would definitely have less items. Like I would say maybe 10 to
Um,
15 items if you're doing auction style. Otherwise it'll take hours.
um, um, two things that we didn't cover. One is a recap at the end. A lot of people do like having recaps. So that's when you just at the very end, you go through and show the items that didn't get sold. This can be really helpful because sometimes people come in halfway through so they didn't see the things at the beginning. If I have a whole bunch of items that didn't sell, I won't show everything. I just do like 10 to 15 items, about a 5-minute recap. I personally do not discount items for the recap because the price is the price. And I, you know, it doesn't seem fair to me that just because someone came in halfway through the live and they see the item at the end instead of the beginning, that they get it at a lower price. Um, some people do recaps. I think the big thing, they do discounts for recaps. I think the big thing, again, is consistency. And one thing to think about is that if you discount during the recap always, it does kind of train customers to expect that. And so if they don't like your price, they might hold out and wait for you to drop it during the live. And so you just have to expect that you might sell more things during the recap, but it's because people are expecting a discount. So you just have to sort out if you want that to be your policy or not.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
And the other thing is that something that we've started doing the past few months is once your live ends, oh, that's a really good question. Reshow an item. I usually try to wait a few weeks unless it's a seller like with a completely different, fresh audience that I'm probably, they're new people and they've never seen my sales. Often what I do with my items is I will show them a couple times, and if it doesn't sell, then I put it in my booth or I put it on my website. So I kind of have that backup plan.
I try not to show the same item too many times.
Yeah.
I was talking about this with somebody else too, and I don't know if everybody keeps track of every single item that you show, but like if you have like the same group of people that like follow you and actually like watch your live sales,
Mm-hmm.
watch your feed sales, that kind of thing, you don't want to look like stale.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I may like I've done it before. I'm not saying that I don't do it, but like if I did like this week, I had a feed sale on Monday. I had a holiday market on Monday. And if there's some items that I think are really good still that are left over, I have a sale coming up on Friday, and I might have the audience that would like some of those items, then I'll show some of them, but I won't
Mm-hmm.
re-show a whole grouping of items. Like you want to mix in new ones too. Like I think your collection should mostly be new and then scatter in a few that you've shown before.
Mm-hmm.
But don't consistently show the same item until it sells. I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't recommend that, but you just have to determine how you want to run your sales.
Yeah. And we do often post things in stories, like pictures of things that didn't sell. And so that's a different thing, just to kind of show, like, hey, in my stories, just in case you missed the live, this is what didn't show. Speaking of missing the live, one thing that we've done is to actually save our lives as reels. So when you tap end live, it says, do you want to share this? You can tap share now, and then it will save as a reel or a video to your profile. If you do it with another seller, you can tap invite collab. So you go to tag person, and then it'll say either tag the person or invite as a collaborator. If you tap that, then it will send them an invitation to be a collaborator on the reel. If they accept, then it shows up on their profile as well, which is great exposure for you, because then you're getting seen on their profile and vice versa for them as well. So it makes it a lot easier, and so that you guys can share the content that you've created together. And I have a lot of customers who will watch the replays, and they will reach out and purchase things afterwards. So for me, it's worth the little bit of effort. I also have created a standard reel cover image that has live sale and the date on it, so people can quickly find what that is. And then I just switch out the photo for one of my preview photos. So I again try to take a whole bunch of different pictures when I'm doing my preview shot, so that I can use one of those as the cover shot for the reel, and then save it there.
Yeah, because otherwise then your cover will be like however you look the minute you go live, that will be your cover, and I don't really want my mug on my page. Yeah. Especially when it's like this or something like that. So you could always put like the real cover will just look nicer on your feed.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, do you want to walk through Square sales? Because I don't do these anymore, so I feel like you're the pro.
Okay. I love Square sales. That's how I started out 3.5 years ago. I started out with Square sales, and I think I'm going to keep going with them. So Squares feed, same thing. It just means that they will be images that appear on your grid on your profile. So you want to prep for a Square sale, I would say when you do like your listing, so you take all your pictures, you edit all your pictures, you have them all lined up, ready to go. Now you have to work on the description. So you want to identify your item. So I would say like ironstone pitcher, just because it's on the top of my head. And then you could do a brief description. Antique, if you know if it's over 100 years. Antique ironstone pitcher. Maker, Johnson Brothers, if there's a pattern name. You can look up the back stamps if you choose to. Not everybody does it. I personally think it helps the customer. So like if they see something was made in like 1886, it might be a little more appealing than something that was made like 50 years ago. But it all depends. That's like psychological. But I would include a brief history on the item if you would like to. In your description. The condition of the item, include all your imperfections. I actually do like the star emoji, and I put that in my blurb at the beginning of the, like in every post. I'll say like all text within these emojis means that there's an imperfection. So if there's a chip, a crack, a hairline just means that there's a crack, but it doesn't necessarily separate the item. If there's a flea bite, color loss, crazing, staining, things like that, I would just be very descriptive on the flaws on the piece. Because if I'm looking for a platter that I want to use at Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, I'm not going to buy a platter if it has crazing and staining. I want a platter that has no crazing at all, because I know that doesn't necessarily mean it's food safe, but I know that it's more likely to be food safe. Measurements of the item. You can do height. I mean, I would recommend length, width, height. There's a diameter if it's just easier that way. Optional, we went over this quickly before, but like you could tell how to style the item in the description, or you could show in a picture how to style the item. And then so most of my squares have a single item, but more recently I've been including multiple items per square. And I think it's easier for identifying, like if you're a customer, because if they want the item, they want to be the first person to put sold. Identify the letter or number of that item in your post, like so that they can match up the item to the description and the price below. People use Scrabble tiles. You could cut up pieces of paper and put A, B, C, D if you want to, or if you have like an editing app, like I use Canva for it and I have a template. I just upload the picture, I put my A, B, C, D on there, and then I export those photos. You don't have to do it for everything. So if you have like a pitcher and a platter, you don't have to put A and B, because like, I mean, if you write A, pitcher, people understand. You just want to make it a little bit easier for people to like match up items to their description. So then you have all of your listings, then you'll have everything ready to go for when you list the items. Personally, I don't save drafts. I've had a bad experience with saving drafts, and then when I go to publish them, they disappear. And that happened during a market, like during a big market. I think it was my first big market with like bigger shops. It was 2 years ago. I think I had like 40 something squares. And like 5 of them posted. And I literally had a panic attack. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do it. So just learn from that. Don't necessarily count on drafts to save or to actually post. Sometimes they don't. You can, if you do a draft, you can copy your text before you hit publish, just in case for whatever reason it disappears. But I would recommend, if you are posting from your phone, to save in like your notes app the descriptions, just so you have them. It's not like you made them through Instagram drafts, right? You made everything. You have all your text, and the only place that information is saved is in Instagram. Well, what happens if something like that happens to you? Then you have to rewrite everything from scratch. So save it to your notes app. Or I use my laptop to post. Ever since that was an option, I think that was like about a year ago, and you could use your PC to post. That's what I do. I have everything written down in a Word document, which is great because I have it saved for later. I've reused captions before if I needed to, and then I don't have to go through Instagram to find the post. So I use my laptop to post. You could do a lot on your desktop or laptop if you don't want to use your phone. Like, I personally don't like texting on my phone. I'd rather just, like, when I reach out to people, I just use my laptop for that. So that's how I run my sale, is I do it live on my laptop. All like real time, I'll copy paste, put all my pictures, and hit publish. You would want to wait about 1 to 3 minutes in between your posts, just so you don't get like locked up in you're doing it too quickly. They might think that you're spam. So then you won't be able to post anything for like, it could be 24 hours, it could be 48 hours or more. Just give a little bit of a break in between every time you post. I would recommend, sorry, I'm like jumping all over the place. I would recommend before you start posting, you could do you could do a square of like, hey guys, the sale's coming up soon. Quick overview on how to shop in case you're new. Or you could share things to your stories or whatever, however you want to do it. But I would just recommend doing like an intro to the sale on like how to shop or instructions on how to claim items and things like that. Be present during a Square sale. Respond to claims on posts as they come in. You don't have the moment that you get a notification that someone put sold, you don't have to claim that moment. But just keep an eye on the claims, because after an hour, you can't differentiate as easily who came first. If only like 3 people comment, Instagram won't allow you to click on how you view your comments.
Yep.
So you could view newest first or top comment or something like that, but like you want to go and see the most recent post so that you could see who claimed first. So like so if you do like, say 2 hours later, you go back and you claim, you say, oh, you got this one, you got this one. You're not necessarily going to know who was there first. Whereas when it's just minutes, you could see, oh, Sally, 54 or like 3 minutes ago, and then like Jen was like 2 minutes ago. So Sally gets the item because she was first. So this could take a few hours. Like if you have, it takes me forever.
Yeah.
So prepping for a Square sale takes a long time. Like I mentioned before, it takes about 8 hours or so, depending on how many items and how much research I have to do for every item. But actually, like managing the sale could take at least an hour, I would say. And that's not even reaching out to the people who claim something. That's just going back and forth, responding to everybody's claim, responding to comments. Oh, that looks so pretty. Thank you very much. Like, you want to be friendly. I wouldn't necessarily just ignore those comments. You might not acknowledge them at the moment and go back to it later. But I would encourage you to respond to those comments. So managing claims, I went over that already. You go by the first person who commented sold. You could establish guidelines for customers sending you their information. So when you send the invoices, like how long it will take for you, like after a sale, to send the invoice, what information you need from that person in order to ship their items, things like that. But be consistent. So when I have, most of my sales are at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's just how it is. And then by the time I get through and I write down everybody who claimed something and I acknowledge all of their comments, it could be 9:30. I'm not going to reach out to people at 9:30. I'm going to wait until the next morning or the next afternoon, whenever I'm available. But I'll let people know. Like, I'll do a thank you post at the end. All items have been posted. If you're new, please send me whatever information you need from them. You will hear from me tomorrow regarding your order. So just keep them informed. Some people may not reach out to you for like 2 weeks. It depends on how you want to run your shop. I would encourage you to, I would give it within like 24 to 36 hours, I guess, 48 hours. I wouldn't recommend waiting like a week or so to reach out to people, because they might lose interest or even forget that they commented on it. So you can't like rely on them to follow through with your order.
Personally, I saw something on an Instagram feed post and it was a vintage book and I was like, oh, sold. I would love that. Sent DM'd them my information, whatever. Could see that they saw my comment and they never responded for like over a week. And so then I went online and I found the book for a cheaper price and I ordered it. And then they're like, oh, okay, here. Well, now I'm going to invoice you. And I'm like, why didn't you at least tell me that you saw my comment and respond to me? Like, I know you're traveling, but everyone has internet on their phone. So you don't want to lose out on sales because of that. Yeah. Did we mention scheduling posts? I know you don't do
I don't
this.
schedule, I don't
I
know how
know
to
you
do that.
don't. It is an option. Like, just to throw out there, you guys, you can schedule your posts, but the closest you can schedule posts is 5 minutes apart. So if you have like 9 posts, that means it's going to be 45 minutes before everything posts to your feed, which is way too long, I think. Just, but yeah, just wanted to point that out when we were talking about the
Thank
post.
you.
Did we talk about story sales?
Not yet.
Okay. I think I just got lost.
Um, Yeah, no, that was it. So then I would also recommend like editing your post as you're running your sale. So like if somebody claims something, I'll just put claimed on it. So that if someone's jumping in afterwards, then they don't have to read through all the comments to see if that item was claimed or not. They'll probably still just say like, gee, sold. And then you could say like you're the first, second, backup, whatever, however it works out that way. But I find you just like want to make it easier for people to view it. So I'll just say like this item has been claimed. So like at the top I'll say claimed, or if it's like multiple items per post, if it's like a bottle brush tree, claimed. Just so like when somebody's looking through the pictures and looking at the description, they know that, oh, okay, that one is off the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's about it for a Square sale. It's hard to just like talk about it and like not show
Yeah.
like how to run it, but very similar to how you post just regular squares.
Yeah.
You just want to like make sure people have all the information that they need and that they could, and all the pictures that they need that show the imperfections, the maker's mark, whatever, those kind of. I like to show every single view of the item if possible. It is a little bit trickier when you have vignette style posts with multiple items because you're only given that 10 photo limit on Instagram. So you can't necessarily show every little piece, but I would show the important information. And if you don't have a picture of it, just write down the condition of it in the description, or you could even share more photos to stories. I've seen people do that. So then for story sale, I don't do them very often. I personally think there's a lot of time involved in a story sale, even though it's easier than a Square sale, but then those stories expire. I like to have my item all about aesthetics, right? So I like to have the items, like I want proof that I've had that item before, just for me, just to have on my feed. So I really like, especially like differentiating items between like what do I want to show on a live versus a Square sale. If I really love an item and I want to remember that item forever, I will make sure that that goes into a Square sale because I don't know, that's just me. But like most people don't think that way. But a story sale is very similar to a Square sale in that you take pictures, you write the descriptions down, and you post them. So the story sale is a Square sale, but just way simplified. Usually what I've seen other people do, there are a couple accounts in particular that only did story sales up to a certain point. So they would show like 1 or 2 images of the item, maybe like the back stamp, the dimensions, and then the price. And you can either do that or you could do videos. I would recommend only doing like 1 or 2 slides per item though. You don't want to like you don't want to get too involved into it because some people, they don't have the time to like look through all of your stories or the attention span. Like if you have kids running around or like if you're cooking dinner, things like that. So I would recommend still photos or video, like a quick video of each item. I would definitely recommend using captions if you are talking. Not everybody listens to Instagram with sound on. Most people just view it. Like my sound is always off.
Yeah.
So captions help. You can have people reply to the story. Like, so on every story, there's like a comment box below. You can have people comment in, like, sold and their zip code or however you want to run it, but just make sure you let people know how they're going to claim items from your sale. Or if you go to the stickers, I think it's called the question box.
Yep.
And it will say, like, ask me a question. Instead of that, you could say, like, claim here. And then the person could put their name or, like, sold.
Sometimes
that way,
sorry.
it's
I would
okay.
say sometimes I even put like the price, like rocking horse, $4. Because I've used the question box before and got mixed up on which item. So if your question box just says claim here, it gets really confusing unless you're looking really carefully at the story, at the slide, the Instagram story slide, to see which item they're claiming on. So I would suggest putting like brass rocking horse, $24, claim here, as the text within that question box sticker to help you keep everything organized. Yeah, because that was embarrassing. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say, when you are creating it's stories, I found it way easier to use. There's this app called Unfold, and it's like free, and you can do this on Canva also. I just like Unfold because it's very simple, minimalist templates for stories, and so you can actually create your stories. You can put text or video in there with you can put photos or videos in there, add your text and everything, and then save it. And then when you go to post it in stories, you're not sitting there manually creating every story before you do that. You're just like share, share, share. You can also do it in advance within the Instagram app. When you go into stories, you create your story with the video, text, or whatever. And then on the very top, there's an arrow that's pointing down to a little line. So instead of posting it, you can tap save, and that will save it to your phone. And then you can post that whenever you're ready. Just like a little something to make it easier, because if you are manually creating each slide, posting it, it's going to be really delayed. So you want to try to have them all available right away, as soon as possible.
That's a good point. But otherwise, I think very similar to a feed sale.
Yep. All right.
The only thing is, stories are only available for 24 hours. So a feed sale is a little more permanent. If you use hashtags and people are searching the hashtag, like ironstone for sale is a big one. If people are just finding it through there and then they go to your post, then they're able to view it. So like with story sales, you have less exposure, I guess, unless you save it to a highlight, but then people have to go back to that highlight to look through it. So it all depends on how you want to do your sales. Yes, this video will be posted to both of our profiles, and then Whitney is going to add it to the YouTube channel too.
Yep.
Yes, you can add your sale to highlights. Yep.
All right, and then to wrap up, now we're ready to actually get our money. You actually have to get paid for all the work that you're doing. Okay, so being organized is really important. So what I do is, I have that little sheet. So I'll have my little sheet and I look through and I'm like, okay, Mary claimed these 3 items. And sometimes I even write down in a notebook, Mary, the 3 items she claimed. And occasionally, I don't do this for every sale, but sometimes if I had a high volume of claims, like I have multiple people claiming multiple items, and because I have a little bit of organizational challenges, I sometimes will group people's things together, and I have little like those cardboard flats, that you get from Aldi or whatever, or from auction pickups and stuff. I'll like put everyone's item in a flat and then put their name on a sticky note. Yep, just like a little box.
Box, if you buy packing tape in bulk, I use these to corral people's stuff too.
Yeah, Natural Grocers, you can get free little boxes from Natural Grocers at the front of the store because they recycle everything because they're crunchy. I love it. Anyway, so I'll put everything, like group everything together, put their name on a sticky note, stick it on there. And then, because I've already weighed everything beforehand, or it's not, actually I don't weigh everything beforehand. Afterwards, though, sometimes you can just take the whole flat and stick it on the scale, and then you can see what your weight is. And then again, I just know what box it'll fit in. So then I can do my invoicing. And sometimes I take pictures of the group of items and send it to the person, and that just helps me stay organized. That makes sure we're on the same page. Occasionally, if it was a fast claim or there's an item like, if I'm concerned about video quality or anything, or let's say, I sold a set of 6 mugs the other day and I really only showed one. I sent her a picture of all 6 mugs, like, hey, these are all 6 mugs. I want you to see all of them. I just want to confirm your claim. Or if there's chips or crazy, and I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure that you see this. Like, please confirm that you want this. I want to make sure this is okay with you. Again, I don't want any surprises. If it's a live sale, you don't have to do that so much if you've done a feed post sale. So then personally, I just need their email address for the invoice. You might request their Venmo name and their email address. Okay, here is a big thing. If you are using Pirate Ship, guys, get their email address. Okay, this is when I learned this, it changed my life, because Pirate Ship, okay, once they're in your Pirate Ship system, you just have to type in their email address or their name, and their address will automatically pop up. Mm-hmm. Also, they will send them a tracking email. You do not have to copy the tracking email and then paste it over into Instagram. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to tell them that you've shipped it, because Pirate Ship will tell them, this has been shipped. Here's your tracking information. Mm-hmm. It kills me. I feel physical pain when I still get a photo from someone of the label with the tracking information on it. Like, I feel physical pain, because I'm like, you are wasting, like, I am sorry for you, because you are wasting so much time and energy doing this. Like, this is
safe on your phone, because then you have to go back and delete all of them. Yeah. Like, that's just too much.
Like,
right?
Yes. So always get someone's, if you're using Pirate Ship, always get their email address. Make sure that notifications are turned on in Pirate Ship. We'll cover more of this in the shipping, but this is just a little system process thing that will make your life so much easier. And so then I contact customers, super friendly. Hey, this is what I need from you. Thank you for claiming these items. I can list out the items. I let them know what payment information they have. Judy, have you bought something from me? It might have come from my website. You should have gotten. I can't remember.
From me before.
Yeah. So we have to make sure that it's this turned on. Anyway.
It might have gone to spam.
Maybe.
Just check.
Anyway.
But yeah, they will automatically generate an email to send out, and you can customize it too. We can go over that in the shipping episode, but you can customize your message if you'd like to.
Yes. So the other thing too about, and you touched on this already, but the default for invoicing should be that you're invoicing the customers within 24 hours. If you are not going to do that, please communicate that with your customers. Like at the beginning of the sale, when you invoice them or are getting their information, put it in your stories like, hey guys, my kid's Christmas program is tomorrow night. We're in full prep mode. I'm going to invoice, like Nicole, you're really good at this. Like I have 3 sales the next 3 nights. All my invoicing will be sent out on Saturday. Just make sure that you communicate with them, because I've been on the other end again of I claimed something in a sale and I heard nothing for like a week, and then suddenly it was like, okay, your item's packed up and here's the shipping cost and everything, which is fine, but that wasn't communicated to me that was the process. So again, make sure your customers know what the process is, and then also, every invoice that I send out with a little email that has all my policies in the email. And it says, thank you so much. I expect payment is, my wording is, payment is expected within 24 hours. I ship within 3 to 5 business days. This is my open box policy. If you want to add anything from the website, contact me before completing the purchase, and I will add it in there and reconfigure the shipping and then save you money on shipping. If you want an open box, email me and tell me that. So again, making sure that it's very clear. And what I do when I'm invoicing, again, I'm on Shopify, so it's a little bit different, but it basically would be the same as I do it all on my computer. and then and then I copy the invoice link over to Instagram DMs, and I tell them I sent an email to you with the invoice. Here's also a link. If you have any questions, let me know. If it's their first time shopping with me, just I outline the whole process for them so that they know exactly what they can do, how they can pay, etc. If I don't, and you already touched on this also, that unpaid invoices are really, I say within 24 hours. I usually give them a couple days, usually because I'm busy and I kind of forget, and then I reach out again. Do you want this item? If there's no backup, then I might wait a week before, and I might contact them like a third time. And if it's been 3 times and they're not responding, then I just, okay, you don't get the item anymore. And if there's a backup, I usually shorten that time to 1 to 2 days. Like I will contact them again on the second day, and I'll tell them there is a backup for this item. And I just very nicely say, like, there's a backup for this item. If you're no longer interested and you don't contact me, I'm going to move on to the next person. Like, just matter of fact, because people do get busy or they miss things. And so, or maybe they're confused about what the process is, whatever it is. So give them some grace, but you can't hold items indefinitely, for sure. So now there are some people who do get a little aggressive, and they'll block people who ghost payments. How do we feel about that, Nicole?
I don't have anybody blocked because of that. I only block creepers. But that's all dependent on how you want to run things.
I think that
I haven't had a bad enough experience where I felt the need to block someone. I'll just put it that way. I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. If maybe you had a family emergency, or maybe something came up, or you're just not on your phone because you want to unplug and spend time with your family. I mean, you kind of have to, like, I'm on the phone I'm on Instagram all the time. So, like, I'm different than somebody who occasionally browses or shops. But you also have to, like, I think on the other end, you have to be a little bit responsible on, like, oh, hey, I bought something from this person. Let me look out for their message. Like, I don't necessarily need to be on Instagram, but, like, let me just check in a few times, like checking your email type of thing at work. Like, I think it's nice and it's responsible to, like, look out for that message. Don't necessarily just wait for that person to be like, hello.
And circling back, there needs to be a message for them to see. Like, if they check back and there's no message from you, then they may not realize that they need to send you anything.
Right.
So non-payer claims an item again on a live. So that is one reason that sometimes people will block customers from their lives, because then you're losing out on sales. If someone did, I think that you have to figure out what you want your policy to be. Like, maybe 2 strikes, you're out. If it is really a problem, I've never had someone do that more than once.
Yeah, me either.
Usually they just kind of don't show up. But I have heard other people, like, they have someone that, this is where it really gets awkward. They have someone, they're holding items for a client. The client has paid for the items, but not the shipping. Another reason that I charge for shipping right up front. And they've contacted the person multiple times over many weeks, and they see that person claiming items in other live sales and even paying for items, because they contact the other sellers and ask them, is this person paying you? Yeah, they're paying for you. Well, they're not paying me. They're ignoring me. So it does get a little bit sticky. So if you get into that situation and it really is emotionally taxing, and it is like messing with your business, then you really have to have good boundaries and just flat out, this is not personal. You're not making a moral judgment on anyone's character. You're just saying, this is my policy for business, and, like, 3 strikes, you're out, because I just can't risk losing more sales because of someone who keeps claiming things and not paying. I think you can do that in a nice, matter-of-fact way that creates good boundaries for you and for your customers, so that your customers know they can't push you around. That sounds really harsh. Sorry, guys. I'm so blunt. They're not pushing me around.
No, I think you're saying it in, like, a polite way.
Yeah.
But just note that if you do block someone, and if you do a live sale with someone else, this has happened to me. I didn't block the person, but the the other seller did. So that if you're promoting like, hey, I'm having a live sale tonight, hey, I'm having a live sale tonight, hey, and they don't see that you're having a live sale, it's because the other person you're selling with has that person blocked. Then they know that that person blocked them without them being aware. So it's a little, I don't know. I would just be a little careful with blocking. But I know people that are like, oh, you didn't pay, block. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I'm not quick to like do that.
Yeah.
I have not blocked anyone because of that.
Yeah. But good questions.
But that's why backups are always good. I mean, you could write down that person if she claimed it initially, you write her down, but you write down the backup and you just reach out to her, be like, okay, this is your total. I'm sending a request. If you don't pay within 12 hours, or 24 hours, it's going to the backup. So at least you have it in writing. And if she chooses not to pay again, then you just go to the backup.
Yep.
If you don't have a backup, then it's like someone never claimed it to begin with. I don't know. But I wouldn't go through the effort of like packing up the item, getting it all ready if you know that that customer may not pay.
No. Yeah. Okay, guys. So we're at like 2 hours. We had so much to cover, but oh, it's been so fun. Really quick, I got a few questions come through that I think were really good. Anything about shipping, we're going to cover in the next episode in January. And if you guys have questions, we have a few minutes to cover some questions if you want to drop it in the comments or use the little speech bubble with the question mark down there. Because we pretty much, and some of these I might just reference, say like, go listen. When it comes to budgeting, I recommend listening to the first 2 episodes about starting, selling, and finding inventory, because we talk a lot about budgeting there. Printer wise, we'll get this more into shipping to talk about what supplies, but you really have to have a printer if you're going to be shipping stuff from your house, whether it's a label printer or a regular printer. That's really needed. Instagram shop, like the official IG shop, that is more related to having a website. And so we're not going to cover that in this episode, but I have set up my own Instagram shop. And so you're more than welcome to DM me your questions about that. And when we do our website episode, we'll dive into that a bit more because it really is, yeah. Shipping quotes. Okay, here's a great question. Do you do shipping quotes? I find them to be time consuming and sometimes a waste of time. Okay, can you respond? Okay.
I know it. Okay, so like if someone, it depends. Like if someone's claiming something on a live sale or a feed sale and they're like, sold pending shipping quote, I don't allow that. If someone else comments, it goes to that person ahead of time. But if this is the only person that claimed that item, then so if you use Pirate Ship, which we had mentioned before, just a quick overview, it is an online free shipping software that gives discounts for USPS and UPS. So Pirate Ship, there is an option that you could click on rates. As long as you have that person, all you need is that person's zip code. You put the zip code in. If I have, okay, so like my water bottle. Okay, this is the item. It needs a little bit of wrapping around it. Let me find a box that's relatively the right size and let me weigh it in that box. You can even put some of the packing material in the box too, but you don't necessarily have to pack it up. You do like a like 16 by 10 by 4 is the box, and then I weigh it. I'm like, okay, it's like 2 pounds, but like I'm gonna add a little bit extra just in case it ends up being more, because you don't want to eat that cost if you are underquoting a price, and then they'll give you a rate. It is a little time consuming, but most of the time those end up actually being purchases, so I don't mind personally spending that. It takes me like 2 minutes. I don't mind spending the 2 minutes to potentially get a sale on an item. But
yeah,
that's how I handle shipping quotes.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more in shipping, but this is one reason that I have moved more towards using standardized box sizes, because it makes that entire process so much faster. And you just get to know, like, you have the algorithm in your head, and you just do it. So especially for larger, bigger items, I think when you're talking about $20 to $30 in shipping, that can make a difference in whether someone wants to pay that on top of $100 item. And so like I think it's helpful to do what you can to help the customer to figure that out. Let me see. So I'm going to run through a few more. How much inventory do I need to start out? So I would definitely suggest, we talked about having 20 to 30 items in a sale. And we've been talking about the feed post sales as if you are doing like a drop. There are some people who list one thing every day, and that works for them. So, I would suggest having 30 to 50 items in inventory so you have some back stock. And yeah. Okay. And now Gardens by Kevin, you're asking about ways to keep an inventory list. I would suggest watching our previous episode number 2 is all about finding and managing inventory. And so we go through all of that stuff when we talk about that. Special lighting, we talked about ring lights. I thought this was a good one. Should you delete old items and repost? So how do you handle, like you did a feed post drop a month ago and these items didn't sell? Do you delete and repost them, or do you just keep them in your story highlights like we talked about?
I don't typically repost something for sale. Like if it was on a feed post, I don't like archive that post. Well, I would recommend archiving and not deleting just in case you need to refer back to it. You can look at all your archive posts. I don't usually do, like if I'm posting this picture for sale, I'm not going to like post it for sale again at a different point. Like I keep all of my items that weren't claimed. I have them saved to an available story highlight. So I might show that item in a live sale, or I might include it in a flat lay or something like that, but I'm not going to repost the same item to a square sale. If you do choose to do that, I would suggest archiving the initial post and then doing it again. You might need to change the photos, just like I don't know. It's hard because you don't know why it didn't sell the first time. So I think that just like it's hard to tell that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
When you
Just
try to
figure out a
repost
process and make sure. I do find that if something was posted like more than a month ago on a feed post, it's not going to sell on Instagram. So you do need to find a different way of selling, which kind of relates to another question we got in the question box. Do both of you also have an Etsy shop or another outlet to sell if it doesn't sell in a live sale or a story sale? Whitney, I know you have a website. So real quick, yes, we have other ways of selling things. And so so that's where I move stuff. I move stuff onto my website and to Etsy if it doesn't sell. And so this is why it is nice to have multiple income revenues besides just Instagram selling, like having a booth or a website or Etsy where you can move stuff on. Because it's really hard if it doesn't sell on Instagram, then you either just have to get rid of it or sell it really cheap, or figure out what to do with that. Someone asked about how do you limit number of sales every month? How do you figure out how many sales to have every month? Which is a funny question for us as we're both kind of like.
I definitely pushed it too hard.
Yeah,
I think
fall.
I would see what is manageable for you. So that's like a personal evaluation. Seeing if you have a full-time job, if you have a family, if you care for a family member, if you volunteer, like think of all the available time you have during the week. And if you have enough time to prepare for a sale, to run the sale, and to reach out to everybody, and to box it all up, and to ship it out, and to go to the post office. I would highly recommend starting out just doing one, seeing how it goes, and then move forward. So when I first started, I wasn't working. I was actually unemployed, and that's what kind of brought me into doing this. I did a drop or a launch, a feed sale every other week. So I had 2 a month for the beginning, just to allow myself to get familiar with it, to gain followers, gain customers, gain exposure, be able to go out and look for inventory and not feel pressured like I
Mm-hmm.
booked 6 sales this month and I only have like 40 items. Like how, like you need to
Yeah.
just like, it's a lot. It's really a lot. And once your volume increases with your quantity of sales,
Mm-hmm.
you need more items. So you need storage for those items. You need space for them. You need to be able to go out and source them. You need the money ahead of time to invest in the items.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot. I would definitely just take it slow to start. Try just like every other week or once a week or and see how that goes. And then when you're familiar with it, when you have like a system set up, then you could do multiple per week, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. Just got to figure it out. Okay, and then how do you show printed items on a live screen as it appears backwards? I don't think there's a way to flip. Well, no, there's not a
You
way.
flip.
You can, you could flip from front to back. That's actually a good point. So if I tap here, watch out, y'all are going to get blinded. You're looking out my window. So then look. So then you're able to show how it looks. But if you're the camera that's on the same side as the screen, then it's going to be backwards. So that's the only way you could do is flip your camera around and have the front camera, which is the main camera, showing the items. So that is one way to do that. We had a couple more questions like how to scale your business, how to grow your Instagram. I think I accidentally put that up as a comment early, but I would just suggest putting your, not putting, we talked about Instagram growth in the previous episode, in episode 3. So go back and watch that. And when it comes to scaling your business, these are all things that we're going to be covering in the coming episodes as far as different platforms you can use. So yes, we will definitely be covering all of that. And oops, oh, here we go. Sorry. How many followers do I need for a good sale? Well, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about this, but there is there's not like a minimum number that you need to hit. We both were making sales when we were at about 100, and our sales revenue has grown with our followers. But I know people who have 2,000 to 3,000, so like kind of these micro accounts who are killing it and making really, really decent money. And I think it's just running a really good business, showing up consistently, taking care of your customers, and having really high quality items is all really, really important. So yes, consistency. And that's kind of one thing, I think it would be helpful if you're new to live sales, for example, is to make a goal for yourself. Like, I'm going to have one live sale every Wednesday at 1 or every Saturday at 7 p.m., whatever, make that your goal. And that will, I think, really, really help out with that growth because people, again, know what to expect from you. And I think that pretty much covers all of our questions. So thank you for sticking with us. This has been like 2 hour long, over 2 hours. But the whole replay, and thank you so much for your kind words. The whole replay will be on YouTube. I would recommend watching the replay on YouTube and not on Instagram because it's much easier to save your spot. So yeah, we will get that posted, and you guys can always send us questions throughout the month. And then, like I said, the next sale will be Wednesday, January 3rd at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we will be doing some live shipping with you guys. So that'll be fun. You get to come down to my shipping dungeon, as I called it the other day, in my basement. So
It's good that you have a setup for that.
yes,
I do everything in this bedroom, so it all gets transformed however I need it to, but
yeah,
it works. Oh, thank you all. We appreciate you being here. And if you, like Whitney said, if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to either one of us and we'll get that jotted down for you.
Yep. Okay. The YouTube, if you look up Thrifty Whitney on YouTube, then I should pop up. And then I also have a link in my profile. If you go there and you tap it and you kind of scroll down to the bottom underneath my email sign up, you can do that. And I always also, if you do join my email list, I send out an email with a link to the YouTube as well as shop news and stuff. And the YouTube will have show notes. I'll try to type up some of the things that we talked about so that you guys can have those references and resources kind of at your fingertips. So, yep. All right.
All right.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
All right. Bye.